Welcome to Conflict News 24. In this video, we'll have a detailed look at partial mobilization ordered in Russia today. What does it mean? Does it indicate that Putin is frustrated, he is under pressure, he has made some mistakes in the past in terms of allowing delivery of weapons to Ukraine by NATO, EU countries? Why did he announce partial mobilization in Russia today? What is going to be its impact in Russia? Because this war between Russia and Ukraine started 7 months ago, and Russia did not announce mobilization in Russia. Now people are being recruited. Why is it happening? Is it due to Ukraine's recent massive gains in Kharkiv? Is it due to upcoming winter? Several questions. We'll try to find out answers. Before that, what did Putin say today in his speech? Three important points. Putin spoke. Sergei Shoigu, defense minister of Russia, also spoke today. Firstly, he announced what we discussed in yesterday's video, that referendums will be held in Luhansk, Donetsk, parts of Kherson and Zaprorizhzhya. Though LPR and DPR, Luhansk and Donetsk, were recognized by Russia in February this year as independent countries. But now voting will be held, referendum, and these zones will vote to be part of Russia. Of course, the areas under Russian control, so voting will be there and the zones will be announced as parts of Russia. And after that, any attacks on these zones will be considered by Russia as attacks on Russian territories. The purpose behind holding referendums is to stop Western powers from supplying weapons to Ukraine. Because if these zones become part of Russia and Western supplied weapons to Ukraine are used by Ukrainian forces on these zones, Russia will take a position that its territories are under attack by Ukraine, which is using weapons supplied by NATO, EU and US, and then Russia will hit back against the countries which are supplying weapons to Ukraine. By the way, I personally think Putin made a mistake when this war started in February. He allowed Ukrainian neighbors, NATO and US to supply weapons to Ukraine. In the earlier first few days of this war, Russia said that it would not allow supplies of weapons to Ukraine. And it said that it would hit weapon supplies from neighboring countries to Ukraine. But later, Russia changed its position. It only said that if long-range weapons would be supplied to Ukraine, it would take action. I think that was a mistake made by Putin, and we saw that US, EU, NATO all started sending weapons to Ukraine, which are making a difference in this war. Russia clearly says that Ukraine has lost its weaponry. Now it is relying on the weapons supplied by EU, NATO, US. So the first point made in today's speeches was that referendums will be held. Secondly, Russia today openly threatened that it would use all means to defend its territories. All means include nuclear option as well. That shows, I think, the frustration of Russian side. Putin seemed frustrated to me today. That is why he said that nuclear option was available to. And thirdly, the most important point, which we'll have a detailed look, is partial mobilization. So this is the first time in 7 months that Russia has ordered partial mobilization, not full scale, partial. Shoigu and Putin said that around 25 million Russians can be mobilized for this war, but only 300,000 will be mobilized from today. And these 300,000 are those who have combat experience, who have military expertise, who have fought in the armies, in Russian forces, who have military background. No students will be recruited. No one without military experience will be recruited. And those recruited will undergo a military training, and then they'll be deployed to front lines. Question is, what does this announcement indicate? Does it indicate that Russia is weak, it is frustrated, it has suffered losses, and now it wants to regain ground? I personally think there are two main reasons. Firstly, in recent weeks, we have seen that Ukrainian forces have struck a heavy blow to Russians in Kharkiv. And large territories taken by Russians in months have been retaken by Ukrainian military in days. And now Ukrainian forces have reached Russian border in Kharkiv. With short-range weapons, Ukrainian forces can easily hit mainland Russia. So, and fighting is now ongoing in Luhansk and Donetsk. Even in Luhansk, we reported 2 days ago that Belohorivka had come under Ukrainian control. In Donetsk as well, we're seeing that Liman is being put under pressure from Ukrainian side. Russians finding it difficult to defend Liman. And in Kharkiv as well, we know that still some parts of Kharkiv are under Russian control, and Russian defense lines to the east of Oskil River are being pushed in eastern direction towards Luhansk, Kharkiv border. In Kherson, already Ukrainian counteroffensive ongoing. So it means on all fronts, Ukraine has gained a momentum. It wants to continue its momentum. Russia wants to break this momentum by deploying soldiers, reservists. And that is why this general partial mobilization has been ordered. It means in coming days, tens of thousands will be deployed to different fronts to stop Ukrainian offensives and to launch offensives to retake territories in Kharkiv, in Donetsk, in Luhansk, in Kherson, and Mykolaiv as well. Secondly, winter is approaching. In winter, front lines freeze mostly. It becomes difficult. Before the start of winter, the two parties want to make as many gains as possible. Ukrainians have momentum on their side. They have retaken large territories in Kharkiv. They are eyeing now Zaprorizhzhya and Lysychansk in Luhansk. And Russians now want to hit back through a sudden counteroffensive. Russians want to retake as much ground as possible before the start of winter. If you remember, a few days ago we heard that Putin announced that by the end of September, Luhansk and Donetsk administrative borders must be secured by Russian forces. But what we saw that they are losing ground. They lost Kharkiv. They're losing ground in Luhansk, though just one village, and in Donetsk as well. So what Russia planned did not happen in Luhansk and Donetsk. That is why this general partial mobilization has been ordered. Now, what is going to be its reaction in Russia? A campaign will be launched, social media campaign, to prove that Russians are fleeing the country. We are seeing some fake videos, old videos from Russia, Georgia, Russia, Finland borders that people are fleeing. But what we have confirmed through different sources is that it's not that people are fleeing in large numbers, but some flights from Russia to Istanbul, to Yerevan, Armenia have been booked completely, reportedly. So some will flee, but it's not that there is a lot of panic in Russia, though panic could spread. Panic could spread. And we are hearing that small-scale demonstrations have been seen in Russia today after Putin announced a partial mobilization. And we saw protests against this war as well in February, in March, in St. Petersburg, in Moscow. People protested back then. Only question is, if this partial mobilization does not work, suppose, what next? Will Russia announce full-scale mobilization? Will it go for nuclear option? And secondly, if referendums are held, if these regions under Russian control become part of Russia after the referendums, though no one is going to recognize the referendums, but if referendums are held and after that Russia announces that any attacks on these territories, on Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson and Zaprorizhzhya will be attacks on Russia, and whoever supplies weapons to Ukraine to hit Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson and Zaporizhzhia will be attacked by Russia too. If it happens, if Russia makes this decision, it means we're going to see a major regional war. So that is why today's measures announced by Russian president are alarming. All three measures, mobilization, general mobilization, partial one, referendums and the threat of a nuclear option. I personally think Putin is under pressure, frustrated. He made a mistake in February and March when he allowed or he overlooked supplies of weapons to Ukraine. Now he is trying to stop the supply of weapons to Ukraine. Is it too late? Can he do it? Let's see what happens. Thank you for watching.